we're talking about complementary and supplementary angles. Complementary angles are two angles that their measure adds up to equal 90 degrees. For example, these two angles, 52 and 38, if you add those two together, you get 90 degrees. Also, in the picture here, you see this little box down in the corner? That box represents a right angle, and then the angles in the triangle that add up to equal the box do equal 90 degrees. Also, with supplementary angles are angles whose measure equals 180 degrees if you add them together. And an example here would be this is a line. Lines add up to equal 180 degrees. No matter how many angles would be here, all of those angles would add up to be 180 if they make a line. But this angle here is 128. This one is 52. If you add 128 and 52 together, you get 180. So that's the two kind of angles we're looking at. So let's look at some examples. So here are 4 examples. These are examples where I just need to find the missing angle. So for number 1, first of all, you need to realize that these are complementary. I see the box. I know that those two add up to equal 90. So if I need to find x, I can just take 90 and subtract 55 to see what you would get. And you get 35 degrees. So 35 degrees is what you're looking for. Number 2. These two angles are supplementary because they make a line. Because they're supplementary, to find the missing angle, I need to take 180 and subtract the angle that I'm given. And that will give me 103. So 103 degrees is the angle I'm missing on that one. Number 3. When you look at number 3, first of all, figure out what kind it is. Well, that's complementary because I see the little box there, and that box represents 90. So if I need to find x, I need to subtract from 80. So I'm going to do 90 minus 80 again. I get 10, so 10 degrees is my missing angle. Number 4, supplementary, because it makes a line, I'm looking for x, so I need to subtract 180 minus 40. And so the angle I'm looking for is 140 degrees. Now, unfortunately, the angles that you're going to be looking at, they're not always quite so simple. They might be equations that you have to solve. So you still start off with trying to figure out, do I have a complementary angle or do I have a supplementary angle? So on number 5, these two angles are complementary. Again, I see the box and it looks like a right angle. So that means that these two things add up to equal 90. So what you do is you take the two angles, 56 plus 3x plus 7, and equal it to 90. You're trying to find x, so you're trying to get x by itself. So I want to add the 56 and the 7. And that gives me 3x plus 63 equals 90. Trying to get x by itself, so I want to subtract 63 on both sides. Which is 27. And then you want to divide by 3 on both sides. And you get 9. So 9 is the answer that I'm looking for there because it said to solve for x. So number 6. Those two angles do not equal 90 because I do not see a box, but I do see a line. So that means that these two angles here add up to 180. So I'm going to take x plus 12 plus 140 equals 180. I'm going to combine these two because they're on the same side. And then I want to get rid of that 152. I need to get it over here, so I'm going to subtract it on both sides. And you get 28. So x is 28 there. So really the process is to figure out if you have 90 degrees or 180 degrees. Add them, set it equal to that, and then see what you get. Number 7 and 8 should be quite simple compared to 5 and 6. Again, these two are complementary. Complementary means 90, so I'm going to add two of them together. 3x plus 5x plus 2 equals 90. Now I'm going to solve. That's 8x plus 2 equals 90. Subtract 2 on both sides. Divide by 8. And you get x equals 11. Number 8. You're going to add those together and equal them to 180. So you're going to have x minus 22 plus 135 equals 180. Because those are not 90, they're not complementary, so I add those two together. Negative 22 plus 135. And you get 113. Then you want to subtract 113 on both sides. And you get 66 for your answer. Now the last two, they're kind of like some more problems here. As far as solving these two, you kind of do the same process, they just don't have the picture for you. They do tell you, hey, we've got two angles, that they're complementary. And here they are, and it says what's the measure of each angle. So first we're going to solve for x. So if I know they're complementary and these are the two angles, I'm just going to take them and add them and equal them to 90 because it's complementary. So then I'm going to combine like terms. 3x and the 5x made 8x. Negative 8 plus 10 makes 2. Then I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. And we're back to a problem that looks similar to this up here, so we get x equals 11. Now, because that's not what it's asking for, I do have to go a little bit further. It says to figure out what angle 8 is and figure out what angle B is. So what I do is I take this 11 and I plug it where x goes. So I'm going to take 3 times 11 minus 8. I get 25, so that means angle A is 25. For B, I'm going to take 11 and plug it right there. So I'm going to have 5 times 11 and then plus 10. So that's 65. And you could check it when you finish and make sure that those two angles do add up to 90. They do, so we know we did it correctly. Last example, number 10. It tells me that we have these two angles that are supplementary. Well, if they're supplementary, that means that when I add them, I'm going to equal them to 180. So let's go ahead and solve. So I get 12x plus 12 equals 180. Well, then I'm going to subtract 12 on both sides, which is 168. And I'm going to divide by 12 on both sides. So I get 14. Now I'm not finished because it says what's the measure of each angle. So I need to figure out what Q is and what R is. Then I put the 14 where the X is, and then put the 14 there where X is. So I'm going to do 4 times 14 plus 9 to get Q, and then 8 times 14 plus 3 to get 115. And then that's my two answers.